Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be breaking down DPS positioning as much as I possibly can to give you some great ideas and tips to help you dominate your games. Before we get into our tips, the new GameLeap Overwatch 2 website just released the other day and is constantly being updated with new guides for every single hero. Make sure you check it out at GameLeap.com or the link in the description and sign up so you can start ranking up today. The first tip that I have is you always want to be trying to take the high grounds. Whether the enemies have it and you're attacking or you are defending, you want to be on the high ground so that you have a bunch of free cover as well as positioning advantage on the enemies. On every single map, there are advantageous high grounds near key choke points, whether it's above the payload or holding the enemies as they come to try and take the control point or holding off the push choke points. If at all possible, you and your teammates should be trying to play on the high grounds so that you can have the advantage over your enemies. And if the enemies have the high grounds, you should be trying to use your abilities or ultimates so that you can force the enemies off of the high ground. The easiest way to think about this is on a map like Gibraltar First Point, where holding the high ground is something that you just start off on default, and the payload has to go under you, making it much harder for the enemies to actually focus on the objective and forcing you off of the positions that allow you to easily just kill them from above. When you're playing on a high ground, you make it much harder for the enemies to actually hit shots on you, as well as giving you cover to fall behind whenever you're taking damage or getting shot at, allowing you to heal up fast and then get right back into the fight easily. Another great thing is that enemy abilities like Sojourn's Disruptor Shot or Ana's Nade are extremely hard to hit on targets that are directly above you. Because they rely on hitting a wall or the ground, hitting these skill shots on you are going to be next to impossible, and it's going to allow you to hit your big skill shots a lot easier. Now, a lot of the times, if you are trying to force enemies off of the high ground, then playing the objective and trying to sneak the objective past choke points that the enemies can hold the high ground and watch is going to be the easiest way to force the enemies off. A lot of the times, enemies will either hop off the high ground to try and contest the payload, and sometimes they won't be hopping off the high ground in sync, so you can allow one enemy to drop onto you and your team that's holding the payload and easily pick that person off, giving you the advantage for the fight. Next up is positioning yourself around health packs. This can be extremely strong for certain heroes. Knowing where health packs are as Tracer, Sombra, or just any other hero that can easily flank and play around the enemies instead of their healers is very crucial. You want to have a great idea of where the nearest health pack is in your head while you're flanking so that you can easily retreat to it whenever you find yourself in danger. Also, taking duels with the enemy supports or DPS as you're trying to flank while you're playing either on top of or right next to a health pack can be a very good strategy whenever you're finding a place to position yourself as either Sombra or Tracer while diving. This is really good because if you take some damage before the fight breaks out, or if the enemies start to focus you during the fight, you can easily retreat to that health pack and then immediately re-engage the enemies at full HP while not having to worry about taking your friendly healers' time and their shots, where they might need to use those on your tank so that your tank can stay alive, and you should easily be able to grab that health pack and re-engage the fight. Another great strategy based around health packs is to play right next to one as either a sniper hero or a long-range hero that is prone to being dove. This allows you to take more aggressive peeks and really not have to worry about needing help from your supports if you end up taking some poke. All you have to do is just grab the health pack and then just re-peek the enemies. And if you continuously get poked, then you can start falling back towards your healers or just wait for the health pack to recharge. Health packs can be extremely strong, and they actually cleanse certain bleeding or burning effects like Ash's Dynamite and Junker Queen's Slash. They can also be extremely useful for a sniper or a long-range hero when you're dove. For example, if you're playing against a Genji or a Winston, having your Venom Mine deal damage to them and then playing near a big health pack can actually allow you to turn the fight into your favor, making a winning dive for them be a free elimination for you. Third, let's talk about your retreat path. No matter what hero you're playing, anytime you're facing dive, you should have a retreat path in mind whenever the enemies are engaging on you. Whether it's something as simple as grabbing the health pack right next to you and then immediately dropping to your team, or as elaborate as running into the enemy team and around their backline and then back through your team, you always want to have a good idea of what direction you're going to go in case of any situation that may come up. The same goes if you're being aggressive and diving the enemies. Maybe as Tracer, you're looking to take out the enemy supports, but if something goes wrong, you need an escape route where the enemies aren't currently positioned and where they can't easily cut you off. Always try and have a small mental map of where you want to go before you actually go into a fight, so that you don't have to think as much as you're focusing on aiming and surviving the enemies. Now, lastly, and probably the most important concept of all when actually playing any role in the game, is the existence of corners and other small objects that can allow you to hide. Corners in this game should already be your best friend, and if you find yourself playing in the open a lot and dying to enemies, then this lesson is for you. Corners and other small pieces of cover should be your main source of damage mitigation as DPS and support heroes. Sometimes you can't play around high grounds, and even if you are playing around high grounds, then this is still going to be a very useful skill for any duel that you're going to be taking, no matter where you really are. So first thing that we're going to talk about is, what is a corner? It should be pretty obvious what a corner is, but it can be a part of just about any wall or piece of cover that you can easily rotate behind to block line of sight of the enemy DPS, healers, or tanks. And your main goal when you're using a corner is to partially or fully block out the enemy team while allowing yourself to only see one or even two targets, effectively isolating them using the wall next to you, allowing you to get easy damage on them, or allowing them to push towards you, forcing themselves into a worse position. Making sure that you're playing around corners allows you to easily pump out a ton more damage onto targets that you want to prioritize, while giving yourself cover and the ability to focus more on just your aim than actually keeping yourself alive. And that really isn't even the best part. The best part about corners is that if an enemy actually pushes into you while you're on a corner, maybe you're damaging the enemy Zarya and she doesn't like that, so she walks up to you, pushes around the corner, and guess what? The enemy healers and the DPS that you were hiding from on the corner can now no longer see their teammate to effectively heal her. This allows you to bait enemies into pushing you while your healers can see you, and while you're dealing damage to the enemy that is pushing you, forcing them to push into a bad position and letting you finish them off while they don't even realize their healers can no longer heal them. Even further building off of this, some very mobile healers or even Ana players can be baited out of their really good positions by forcing an enemy tank to walk around your corner and chase you. Then the healer will either try to follow their teammate by pushing out of their great position and getting line of sight on them, allowing either you or one of your teammates to catch them off guard and get a free elimination. Now, corners can be a double-edged sword. If you see that the enemy Hanzo is playing on a corner and you're playing Genji, dashing behind that corner is probably going to lead to your death if the enemy has some sort of support there. Same with if you're playing a tank or even DPS and you push around a corner and you know that you have an Ana on your team, then you need to make sure that the Ana has line of sight on that corner and you're constantly peeking it so that your Ana or whatever healer that you have is able to see you and easily heal you while you are constantly being around that corner. Even with really small pieces of cover that only hide just you behind it, completely hiding behind something like that and even allowing an enemy to push up onto you can still be a really important factor in you just staying alive and dying in that situation. Now that is all I have on corners and all my tips for your DPS play, so make sure that you implement these as much as you possibly can in your next ranked games, and make sure that you tell me in the comments below if you have any DPS tips for me and what you've been using to rank up in your games. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.